Well, hello, reader friends, and welcome back, or welcome for the first time if you are new here. My name is Lori Beth, and welcome to my little corner of the internet where we get into all of the bookish small talk. I'm very excited to be doing a sit-down talking head style video with you guys today because I am going to go over all of the books that I read in the month of June and also the month of July. I decided to wait to do my wrap-up because, if I'm being honest, July was my worst reading month of the year so far. So I didn't really read all that much. I was like, I'm feeling the vlogging vibe right now. I'm just going to continue to vlog, and when July is over, we're just going to lump June and July together in one cute little video instead of doing two separate wrap-ups. I mean, when I didn't read that much, it's not that much to go over anyways. But I am going to start, I think, from June through July in order of the books that I read, so I can just kind of keep it easy for myself to go through Goodreads and kind of reference everything that I was thinking and feeling about these books at the time, because that is the downfall about waiting to do something like a wrap-up 2 months later is, what was I feeling about that book that I read at the beginning of June? Like, that feels like a lifetime ago now, if I'm being honest, but the horrors persist, and so do we, my friends. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and jump right in. All right, so let's go all the way back to the beginning of June with the very first book that I read, and that was Daisy Haites by Jessa Hastings, and it is the Magnolia Parks Universe book number 2, and of course my beautiful, pretty, stunning, all the things edition that CJ so graciously gifted me that I am so still obsessed with. I can't even get over how stunning these books are, and also how stunning the books themselves are. I am obsessed with these, obsessed with them. I rated this one 4 stars. I don't think I liked it as much as the Magnolia Parks book, but I really, really liked it. I actually think it felt a little long for some reason in this story, but I really do like Daisy as a character, and it was kind of fun getting to know Daisy's family because they are like the British mafia mob type family. So there's just so much drama and so much happening that almost does not make sense. And I think that's why they're so fun and so addictive. Like, you know how sometimes you want a book that you can kind of relate to or that makes sense or it feels real? These are like the opposite of that because they are like a reality TV show mixed with like The Sopranos almost. At least Daisy's story is, and it is so delicious. I can't help but just gobble it all up. I don't know what Jessa Hastings puts in these books, but I am 100% addicted to them, and I cannot wait to continue on with this series. But that was the first book I read all the way back in June. And again, it feels like a lifetime ago at this point in time, which is just crazy. I still can't wrap my mind around time for some reason. All right, so after that, I read Spit Back the Bones by Tegan Olivia King, and this was an ARC that I received from NetGalley, so thank you to NetGalley and the publisher and also the author for allowing me to have an advanced copy of this book. And let me look really quickly when this comes out. Oh, it comes out September 23rd. Ooh, that's so exciting. It's so soon. And this kind of sparked my little summer-ween vibe that I kind of fell into more throughout July, but I think this is what kickstarted it. So this book was super fun because it was more of a earthy gothic narrative than, honestly, anything I've read in quite a while. I'm trying to think of something that kind of compares to this, but I digress. I'm getting way off track here. Let me read the synopsis for you so that you actually have an idea of what the book itself is about. So it says, for fans of Midnight Mass comes a haunting new horror-mance. Something dreadful is festering in the old Thomas bog. For years, it's done what it has been taught to do. It swallows. But it's done following orders. It's been 3 years since Mila Thomas's brother Jed went missing and his case went cold. Since then, Mila has fled town, running from the voices of the dead that reach her from the depths of the old family bog. But when her younger sister Agatha calls her back home to celebrate her graduation, Mila can't help but return to her old haunts. When she arrives, Mila comes face to face with the town reverend who informs her that Agatha is now also missing. Finding her mother and the local police utterly useless, Mila opens herself up to the voices of the bog in the hopes that they can tell her where her sister is. But something else lurks beneath the bog's waters, something that would sooner hunt her than help her. As more bodies turn up on the sandy shores, Mila must overcome her complicated history with the Reverend's estranged son, the boy she never quite got over, to unearth the fate of the town's missing members and the family secrets that may be behind everything. I mean, I actually love that comparison of Midnight Mass because it very much surrounds this teeny tiny town in northern Michigan, like northern Upper Peninsula, Michigan, which if you know anything about the Upper Peninsula, Michigan, it is like a whole different world up there. It is very much isolated and the towns are usually very teeny tiny. And this was just such a vibe with the bog setting. It was very creepy, very earthy, very swampy. And then also this tiny town that kind of falls in line under this reverend. It's like almost like he has this trance over the town. And that kind of does play into the story too. So it was just really, really fun. It was really great. It wasn't gross or grotesque in any way. Because again, I consider myself kind of a baby when it comes to that stuff. It was just enough of like that swamp, that humidity, the bugs, the people disappearing and creepy things happening and voices kind of coming into play. It was just like a really fun blend of things. I did rate this 3.57 stars, which I know half and quarter ratings seem silly to some people, but for me, I'm trying to give like the best ratings I can for books. It didn't quite hit 4 stars for me, but I still really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really fun read. So September 23rd, right? Is that what I said? Yep, September 23rd. Keep your eye peeled on this one. I think this would be a really good like early fall book, like an actual good September book. All right, and from there I read Trespasses by Louise Kennedy, and this was the second attempt of me trying to read this book. I got this, oh my gosh, it might be even like close to 2 years ago now, and I started reading it and just didn't care for the writing style right off the bat. It's actually another Irish author similar to Sally Rooney who does not use certain quotations or like punctuations in her writing. And at the time it was like very jarring for me to read and I just didn't quite enjoy it. But because I'm such a big Sally Rooney lover now, it's something that just doesn't bother me anymore. She writes like that and I don't care. I mean, that woman could write anything and I would read it. So long story short, that was not the issue for me with this book. However, the book still really fell flat for me. And look at the size of this. So this is not a very big book, right? How many pages is it total? 290. So really very small. And I should have DNF'd this book. It dragged on and on and on. I ended up rating it 2.5 stars. I probably should have rated it lower if it was like should I have DNF'd scenario, but I do think that this could be for some people. So let me read the back of it for you because I don't want to honestly like mess it up because the book feels like a blur because I was not invested in it really at all. Amid daily reports of violence, Cushla lives a quiet life with her mother in a small town near Belfast, teaching and moonlighting at her family's pub. There she meets Michael Agnew, a Protestant barrister who's made a name for himself defending the IRA members. Against her better judgment, Cushla lets herself get drawn in by him in his sophisticated world, and an affair ignites. Then, the father of a student is savagely beaten, setting in motion a chain reaction that will threaten everything and everyone Cushla most wants to protect. So that's why I think I was so bummed out by the story, because from the back of it, I was immediately drawn to it. I would love a story like this typically, and I think it was honestly just the writing style. It was so dry and so hard to feel invested in that I didn't even want to finish it, but I did because for some reason I struggle with DNFing books sometimes, which I know is a common issue that a lot of us deal with. But yeah, I typically like kind of like these real life stories like this, like political unrest in countries and then this unsolicited affair kind of happening as the basis of the story. So if it would seem like tensions would be very high and it would be kind of a very dramatic read, but it didn't feel that way to me at all. It just felt kind of blah. So I was really bummed out by that. Again, though, this could be for some people. So I think that's why I wanted to give it like a rating and not just DNF, because I think I always hold on to a little bit of hope that I'm just going to end up liking something in the end. Unfortunately, that's not what happened with that one. But from there, I read Everything is Tuberculosis, the history and persistence of our deadliest infection by John Green. You've probably seen this book on shelves everywhere in your bookstore. And if you have not purchased this book, please do so immediately. Please do so immediately. This is actually a nonfiction book, and it is based on exactly what the title of the book is. So John Green and kind of his, I don't know if obsession is the right word, but he does struggle with OCD. And I think he does have some obsessive compulsive ideas behind certain things. And tuberculosis and kind of infectious disease is one of those things that goes hand in hand with OCD a lot. Infectious disease, not specifically tuberculosis, but for him, he was so drawn in to what tuberculosis is and how it still affects us throughout the world, and how some of us that live in certain parts of the world don't even realize how it is still the most deadly disease that exists, that has ever existed, and that still continues to exist in this world. It was very eye-opening and very, I don't know, it just like, it changed me a little bit in a very subtle way, like as the story was going on. I never felt like I didn't understand what he was trying to get across as I was reading it. I know sometimes for myself when I'm reading nonfiction, I have a hard time connecting to nonfiction books. Like I almost don't feel like I am smart enough to be reading certain types of nonfiction. I know that's not necessarily the case. And I never felt like that in this story at all. It just felt so genuine and raw and human that it just kind of left me with like this feeling of knowing more than when I started the book. And I really appreciated that. It also just kind of like opened my eyes and made me realize how we really do live in bubbles sometimes. Even if there are things that we struggle with in our own lives, there are so many things that are so much bigger than us throughout this entire world that we probably don't even realize are going on around us. Anyways, it was just a beautiful story. And if you've read John Green at all, like I love John Green, his fiction books. I have always really enjoyed him as a writer, and that very much carried over into this nonfiction book. So if you're looking to kind of step into nonfiction, even if you're like infectious disease, I don't know if that's my thing, don't even worry about that part of the book. Just give this one a go and kind of like dip your toe in the nonfiction world and also maybe John Green's world. If you've never read his stuff before, he's a brilliant author. So anyways, that was such a good book that I rated it 5 stars. And from there, I read A Soul of Ash and Blood by Jennifer Armentrout, which is the 5th book in the Blood and Ash series. If you are involved in that series, I don't know if you feel this way, but I can't keep the titles of these books straight amongst even like some of the other series that she has going on. I feel like they're all kind of starting to blend together. So I have to like very clearly reference my phone on everything about this book. So this was funny because I usually in the past when I have struggled with reading, I would find myself leaning into fantasy because it's just such a big part of my life. Like it's just a genre that I have always connected to. And I loved this series, but I have not read a book in this series in probably like 2 years. Like that's wild. What is wrong with me? Why can't I just finish a series? I just don't want them to end is my problem. And then I just wait all this time to read them again. And then boom, 2 years has gone by. But it ended up working out because the 5th book in this series is actually like a backtrack to the very first book, but from Castile's point of view, which is the main male character in this series. It ended up working out because it kind of just literally refreshed my memory after having not read one of these books in so long. And it was just taking me so long to read because it's like a traditional fantasy book. It was like 600 or 700 pages or something like that. And I had it on my Kindle, which I don't love reading really long things on my Kindle. So I feel like in this one, like I loved the book. I loved it and rated it well. So I think I rated it 4 stars because I just love this story and this series. But I was struggling because I needed to pay attention to a lot of it. And I don't think my mind was fully there. Like, I don't think the timing was right, but I still really enjoyed it. I tried to like just relax and let myself read through it and not feel rushed. And I think this is why I didn't read so much in July, because this one was so long and it was taking me a while. But I still really, really enjoyed it. So if you love romantasy and you have not read one of her series, ooh, honey, you don't even know what you're missing. Like, these are heavily romantasy books, like pretty spicy romantasy books too. So if spice isn't your thing, that might be a drawback for you. But yeah, if you like a good fantasy story with some romance, look no further, my friend, because these will just rip your heart right out of you. But yeah, now I'm like fully refreshed. And when I'm feeling it again, I am going to jump back in, because I will find myself back to fantasy. I know I will. That's just kind of how I work. Oh man, I'm telling you what, your girl is melting in this Michigan heat. I can hardly take it anymore. I'm just dehydrated all the time. All right, so we are quickly moving on to the books that I read in July. Again, June and July, not my best. July specifically, not my best, but I did kick it off with a bang, quite literally, by reading Bunny by Mona Awad. And if you didn't catch my vlog on this, I will link it here somewhere and down below. And you can kind of just get my thoughts and opinions as I was reading this book. But holy moly, I loved this so much. And I think, like, looking back, I wish I could have let myself ride the wave of Spit Back the Bones, because I kind of really liked that creepy horror feeling it was giving me. And when I went to the bookstore looking for something, because I was like, I need like books. I need these fiction books and I need them to come back to me and hit me hard. Suddenly I realized like I was still in that mood and I wanted to read another horror novel, which is just so, like, if you know anything about me, is not the thing that I reach for the most. And I don't know what has happened to me, but it has just been something I've been craving lately. And that's pretty much what Bunny is. It's very much a horror story, but also like a dark academia story at the same time, because we follow a main character who is in her final year at her graduate program for writing, and she is part of this like cohort writing group of super popular girls, and they all call each other Bunny. So it's basically like, I think it's like 4 or 5 of them and then her, and she just always feels like this odd man out, and she's kind of like a quote unquote weirdo, and they're like super pretty and put together and bubbly, and they love sugar and like, you know, frappuccinos and all of this stuff, and they call each other Bunny, and it's like they've always kind of like rubbed her the wrong way. But in this final year, which is like a very important year in a graduate program, she kind of gets sucked into their world. Like they kind of pull her in. They like invite her to hang out, and she just gets involved with them and finds out that they are up to some diabolical and very creepy things. And she just kind of goes through like this weird fever dream scenario while she's sucked into basically becoming one of them, becoming a bunny. It was a very interesting book. I really liked it. Again, it is a horror book, so it has some horror aspects. I guess check trigger warnings on this. I am a self-proclaimed baby when it comes to these things, so I didn't think there was anything too overtly grotesque in here, but I know everybody's level of that is different. So anyways, I really, really liked it. I loved Mona Awad's writing, and I kind of can't wait to read more by her, because I think most of her books are kind of like they are horror leaning. So I really like that, and I think that's kind of just like kept me in that summer-ween vibe, and I was trying to like go with that flow through the rest of July, kind of. So after that, I did another wild thing that is new to me, and that was listen to an audiobook from start to finish, only audio. So I don't usually listen to audio only. Oh, sorry, let me go back really quick. I don't think I said what I rated Bunny. 4 stars. I rated Bunny 4 stars. Fast forward. Okay, we're back. We're back in the audiobook situation that I found myself in. So I typically don't listen to audiobooks only. I will listen to audio when I am reading a book physically, not even at the same time, but in moments when I can't sit down and read, I will kind of supplement the book with audio. And I have always found that experience enjoyable for myself, mostly because it's not it doesn't usually end up being like a ton of audio by the end of the book. It's mostly still reading the book, because when I listen to audio only, I sometimes feel like I miss things, like I miss important things that are going on. But because my reading had been kind of subpar in July, I was like, I'm going to give this a go, and I'm going to give this a go with a different type of book, because I find that I'm reading, a lot of fantasy or like dark academia, and there's stuff that I would miss when I was listening to it because those are very in-depth and plot-heavy books. So I was like, what about Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid? Because she is such a good fiction author that her stories almost feel like TV shows or movies, even when you're physically reading them. Now I was like, I'm going to give this a go. I'm going to try this because I think this is going to work out for me. And it did not disappoint, let me tell you. First and foremost, because it was Taylor Jenkins Reid, and she is just such a good writer. Like, you can tell this woman put so much thought and research and effort into her stories that it's like you can't help but get invested in them because they feel so real to me. Like, oh man, they feel so real. But this one was super fun because it was about a group of women that were part of the NASA space program in the 1980s, and basically just all of the trials and tribulations and sexism and all of the things that they had to face to prove their worth and prove that they could do all the things that men could do, including going to space. So it had this big basis of just badass women overcoming and just showing how incredible they are, just like any other man at this NASA space program. And on top of that, there was a romance involved. And this romance did something to me. Like, it broke me open and something crawled inside of me, and now it lives there. And I still kind of think about it. Like, I have thought back on this book. Can you imagine that I rated this one 5 stars? Because I did. It was so good. So if you like real life drama stories, if you like romance, if you like very realistic feeling fiction books, do not skip on TJR. She has been and always will be one of my favorite fiction authors. All right, and after that, I read The Bewitching by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. And if that sounds familiar, it's because you watched my vlog on this where I said The Bewitching by Sylvia Moreno Garcia 800 times. When I was editing that video, I was like, wow, I gotta stop saying the full book and the full author's name every single time I hold it up on camera. And here we are again with me doing the same exact thing I said I wasn't gonna do. But anyways, this was just perfect for me in the moment because it is another mysterious, dark horror kind of novel. And I just was feeling that. I was like, why am I not just leaning back into this? I loved Bunny. I loved the vibe it gave me. I need to just keep leaning into that, and it did not disappoint. This was the first book I have read by this author, and I really enjoyed it. I think she has a very beautiful kind of fluid writing style, and because she wrote a book that ended up having 3 different POVs, which I have struggled with in the past. Sometimes multiple POV can be good or it can be bad for me, especially if you get over 2 characters. But I think she did this one pretty flawlessly. And the story itself was cool because when I read the title of it, The Bewitching, I kind of just assumed, and shame on me, that this was going to be a book about a family of women that either knew they have a history of being witches or they discovered that they were witches, and kind of the things that have linked them together. But this was different because it did involve witches, but it was more based on Hispanic folklore of witches, and the connection to the women in this story were how people that they knew disappeared and how that was most likely at the hands of witches that in these Hispanic folklore tales are very evil and very dark and very scary. So it was really cool. I really liked it. It was another book with a main character set at a college. So it really gave off like that kind of spooky season, creepy, mysterious, like dark academia vibe. And I really liked it. I think this is going to be a really good book for the fall. And also just, I really enjoyed this author's writing. So I'm excited to read more by her. I rated this one 4 stars. Well, there you have it. Those are all of the books that I read starting with the month of June all the way through the month of July. And it was funny going through these months. It didn't feel like I was reading all that much, but looking back at them, like lumping them all together in one video, yeah, I mean, I had a time. And July really sparked something in me. So I'm just feeling kind of refreshed and just really excited to read right now. So I think that the rest of the year is going to bring some really exciting things. So I'm excited to see what those things might be. Also, if you didn't catch any of my recent vlogs, I will link all of them down below because I am so excited to be vlogging again and kind of sharing my day-to-day life, or at least my weekly life, with you all. It's making me feel very much more connected to the booktube community. So I'm kind of excited to be doing that again, but I will be mixing in some of these talking head videos, so don't you worry. And also, with that being said, I would love suggestions on videos that you want to see. Go ahead and drop that in a comment down below because I love suggestions and I will definitely try to deliver on anything that you might want to see on this channel. But with that being said, if you liked this video, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button because it always helps a girl out. And if you want to make sure you don't miss any of my other upcoming videos, go ahead and hit the subscribe button too. As always, it has been an absolute blast and I can't wait to see you guys in the next one.